If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Question: which actions can you accomplish using a process chain? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: create aggregates. Option 2: activate data, store objects data. Option 3: delete indexes. Option 4: delete info objects. Question: what can you use transformation rules for? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: to harmonize the data from different source systems. Option 2: to store the source data in the persistent staging area, PSA. Option 3: to enrich and change extracted data. Option 4: to use an info package as a source object. Question: what can you do during the data activation of a data store object, DSO? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: upload data into the DSO. Option 2: delete the contents of the DSO. Option 3: update other info providers from the DSO. Option 4: execute queries on the DSO. Question: which of the following standard aggregation options can you choose when you model key figures in SAP BW? There are three correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: summation, sum. Option 2: last value, loss. Option 3: minimum, min. Option 4: average, average. Option 5: maximum, max. Question: you have loaded data into a standard data store object. This data has not yet been activated. What can you do to accelerate the activation process? Choose 1. Option 1: choose the SID generation during activation option in the settings of the standard data store object. Option 2: choose the overwrite option for the key figures in the transformation rules. Option 3: choose the unique data records option in the settings of the standard data store object. Option 4: create additional indexes for the standard data store object. Question: you are working in SAP BW projects and SAP ERP projects. What functions are unique to the SAP BW projects? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: how to handle multiple currencies. Option 2: how to handle user authorizations. Option 3: how to handle Q delta loads. Option 4: how to manage master data coming from different source systems. Question: what happens during the creation of an info cube? There are three correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: dimension that contain multiple characteristics are set as line item dimensions. Option 2: the characteristic or QUID, request ID, is assigned to the data package dimension. Option 3: the unit of measure or currency of each key figure is assigned in the unit dimension. Option 4: navigational attributes are assigned to a separate dimension. Option 5: compounded characteristics of select characteristics are chosen. Question: which of the following SAP BW info providers is typically used in the Enterprise Data Warehouse, EDW, layer? Choose 1. Option 1: info set. Option 2: multi-provider. Option 3: info cube. Option 4: standard data store object. Question: you want to transfer data from an info cube in an SAP BW system A to an info cube in SAP BW system B. Which sets of objects can you use? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: export data source, replicated export data source, info package transformation, data transfer process. Option 2: target info cube as open hub, destination transformation, data transfer process. Option 3: generic data source, replicated generic data source, info package transformation, data transfer process. Option 4: operational data provisioning, ODP, source system data source for the info provider of SAP BW system A, transformation, data transfer process. Question: which archiving strategy would use to reduce the SAP BW database size and still allow reporting on an ad hoc basis? Choose 1. Option 1: classic archiving for data load, request administration and log data. Option 2: near-line storage archiving for info provider data. Option 3: XML-based archiving to a web DAV system for info provider data. Option 4: reload of archived data back into the info provider. Question: in an SAP BW report you want to display the material group for a material for a specific key date. What do you need to do to achieve this? Choose 1. Option 1: model the material group characteristic as a time-dependent attribute of the material characteristic. Option 2: model the material characteristic with the two additional attributes valid from and valid to. Option 3: model the material characteristic as a time-dependent attribute of the material group characteristic. Option 4: model the material and material group as info provider characteristics. Question: you notice that some queries based on the sales info cube are taking too much time. Which actions can you perform to improve the performance of these queries? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: schedule the attribute change run after the data load. Option 2: partition the sales info cube. Option 3: load the master data before the transaction data. Option 4: create an aggregate for these queries. Question: which source systems can you use as a provider in operational data provisioning? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: SAP LT Replication Server, SLT. Option 2: SAP IQ, formerly SAP Sybase IQ. Option 3: SAP Book. Option 4: SAP Data Services. Question: your customer wants to migrate SAP BW3.x data flows to SAP BW7.x data flows. What can they do to mitigate the risks of the migration? Please choose the correct answer. Choose 1. Option 1: use emulation first to model the data flow with update rules and a data transfer process. Option 2: create the data flow manually to create transformations and a data transfer process. Option 3: create the data flow manually to create update rules and a data transfer process. Option 4: use emulation first to model the data flow with transformations and a data transfer process. Question: you have updated data store object, DSO, data into an info cube via a delta data transfer process. Reports with the same definition are written and execute to InfoCube and data store object, but the data is not the same. There is a break in a data. What could be the reason for these report inconsistencies? Choose 1. Option 1: data in the DSP activation queue has not been activated. Option 2: data was not rolled up into the aggregates. Option 3: data has been compressed in the info cube with zero elimination. Option 4: data has been deleted by request from the DSO but not from the info cube. Question: in a report based on a sales info cube, you want to show the material and the material group that was valid at the time of sales order creation. How do you model the characteristics material and material group to achieve this? Choose one. Option 1: model the material and the material group in the dimensions of the info cube. Option 2: model the material group as a time-dependent attribute of the material. Option 3: model the material group as a time-independent attribute of the material. Option 4: model the material group compounded to the material. Question: which of the following record modes delivered by a data source can you directly upload to an info cube? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: reverse image. Option 2: before image and after image. Option 3: delete image. Option 4: additive image. Option 5: after image. Question: which of the following layers are part of the Enterprise Data Warehouse, EDW, layer? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: data propagation. Option 2: quality and harmonization. Option 3: data acquisition. Option 4: reporting. Option 5: business transformation. Question: in which layered architecture, LSA, layer of SAP BW do you model business requirements? Choose one. Option 1: data propagation. Option 2: architected data mart. Option 3: enterprise data warehouse. Option 4: quality and harmonization. Question: what are advantages of using a line item dimension when modeling an info cube? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: data is loaded into the info cube without generating dim IDs for this dimension. Option 2: a high cardinality of data is reduced in the info cube. Option 3: the primary key of the info cube fact table is shorter. Option 4: aggregates on this info cube do not need to be built. Question: you want to reuse the same transformation program to harmonize customer master data in different data formats coming from several source systems and transfer rules or transformations. Which routine can you use? Choose one. Option 1: expert. Option 2: start. Option 3: global. Option 4: local. Question: using the remodeling toolbox, which action can you perform for an SAP BW characteristic info object? Choose one. Option 1: change the attribute type. Option 2: add hierarchies. Option 3: change the reference characteristic. Option 4: add additional attributes. Question: which of the following does the data propagation layer of your SAP BW system offer? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: ability to extract once and deploy many times. Option 2: homogenized data. Option 3: fast load of mass data. Option 4: a single version of the truth. Question: when does the SAP BW system build a surrogate ID, SID, table? Response: Option 1: when you first activate an info cube. Option 2: when you first activate a characteristic. Option 3: when you first load master data into a characteristic. Option 4: when you first load data into an info cube. Question: what happens when you activate a request in a standard data store object, DSO? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: records are deleted from the activation queue. Option 2: records are updated in the change log table. Option 3 records are compressed in the active data table. Option 4 records are aggregated in the change log table. Option 5 record are updated in the active data table. Question: you have to load sales data from a flat file stores in a legacy system on a daily basis. The flat file always contains the last value of the sales data. Which info provider do you have to use to load the flat file into SAP BW? Choose one. Option 1 multi-provider. Option 2 data store object. Option 3 standard info cube. Option 4 virtual provider. Question: you have built a hybrid provider using a data store object for real-time data acquisition, RDA. Which of the following must you execute in SAP BW to load the data? Choose one. Option 1 the real-time info package. Option 2 the data transfer process. Option 3 the daemon assignate to the real-time info package. Option 4 new data loads into the SAP source system Delta Q. Question: you are loading material master data from two different source systems. In System A, material and hashtag 39, 123 and hashtag 39, is a hammer, but in System B, material and hashtag 39, 123 and hashtag 39, is a food. How should you model the O-material characteristic in SAP BW to keep the material identifiers unique? Choose one. Option 1 compounded with the OSAR system characteristic. Option 2 with the time-independent navigation attribute OSOURSYSLEM. Option 3 with the time-dependent navigation attribute OSOURSYSLEM. Option 4 with the time-independent display attribute OSOURSYSLEM. Question: which tool do you use to perform maintenance and administration tasks in SAP BW? Choose one. Option 1 SAP Business Explorer. Option 2 SAP Data Warehousing Workbench. Option 3 SAP Change and Transport Organizer. Option 4 SAP BW Statistics. Question: all of your data updates into a standard data store object are successful, but the report does not show the correct results. You want to rerun the DTP. What must you do before the reload to investigate this issue? Choose one. Option 1 define filters in the data transfer process. Option 2 trace every record in the persistent staging area, PSA. Option 3 define semantic groups in the data transfer process. Option 4 set up temporary storage in the data transfer process. Question: your customer is migrating their SAP BW3.x data flows to SAP BW7.x data flows. Which of the following new objects must the customer now use? Choose one. Option 1 info source. Option 2 data transfer process. Option 3 data source. Option 4 info package. Question: you have created a new data flow object in SAP BW by copying a data flow template. What must you do to use the new data flow? Choose one. Option 1 validate non-persistent SAP BW objects. Option 2 activate non-persistent SAP BW objects. Option 3 replace non-persistent SAP BW objects with active SAP BW objects. Option 4 copy non-persistent SAP BW objects. Question: you want to load data from a legacy system into a data store object, DSO, using a SAP BW7.X data source. Which additional SAP BW object do you have to use? Choose one. Option 1 Update Rule. Option 2 Transfer Rule. Option 3 Info Source. Option 4 Transformation. Question: you want to load daily changes of sales data from a legacy system into SAP BW, using SAP Operational Data Provisioning, ODP. What is the correct sequence of tasks you must perform in SAP BW? Choose. Option 1 1. Create an ODP data source. 2. Create a transformation. 3. Create and load an info package for delta initialization without a persistent staging area, PSA. 4. Create and load a data transfer process, DTP, in delta mode. Option 2 1. Create a data store object, DSO. 2. Create an ODP data source. 3. Create and load an info package for delta initialization without a persistent staging area, PSA. 4. Create and load a data transfer process, DTP, in delta mode. Option 3 1. Create an ODP data source. 2. Create a data store object, DSO. 3. Create a transformation. 4. Create and load an info package for delta initialization without a persistent staging area, PSA. Option 4 1. Create an ODP data source. 2. Create a data store object, DSO. 3. Create a transformation. 4. Create and load a data transfer process, DTP, for delta initialization without a persistent staging area, PSA. Question: your customer requires an analysis of historical data and current data from one SAP ERP system in one single report. Which of the following SAP BW objects does SAP recommend using for this analysis? Choose one. Option 1 INF set. Option 2 Virtual Provider. Option 3 Hybrid Provider. Option 4 Right Optimized DAT Store Object. Question: what can you do when you model a multi-provider to ensure optimal query performance? Choose one. Option 1 Select non-cumulative key figures for the multi-provider. Option 2 Select parts of compound characteristics for the multi-provider. Option 3 Select characteristics for reporting that are available in all the components. Option 4 Assign the characteristics for reporting evenly among the dimensions. Question: which of the following objects in SAP BW can you use as the target of a transformation object? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 Info Cube. Option 2 Data Store Object. Option 3 Multi-Provider. Option 4 Data Source. Question: which of the following sources can SAP Landscape Transformation Replication Server, SLT, use for data acquisition into SAP BW? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 Extractors with a delta mechanism for SAP ERP tables. Option 2 Customer-specific tables from SAP ERP. Option 3 Tables from non-SAP sources. Option 4 Delta Q tables from SAP ERP data sources. Question: what can you do with the hierarchy framework when you load hierarchies into SAP BW? There are two correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, you can expand the hierarchy if the field length is changed. Option 2, you can identify the details of nodes that are built from characteristics. Option 3, you can expand the hierarchy by using star and expert routines in the transformation. Option 4, you can use multiple persistent staging area, PSA, one for each segment of the hierarchy. Question: you load cost center data from different source systems with different data formats into SAP Book. You want to update the data into a single info provider with a source system. How does SAP recommend you design the data flow? Choose 1. Option 1, use one transformation for all data sources bound by an info source to an info provider specific transformation. Option 2, use a set of transformations and data transfer processes, DTPs, for each data source. Option 3, design a real-time data acquisition data flow for an SAP BW info provider. Option 4, use data source specific transformations bound by an info source to an info provider specific transformation. Question: you want to compare purchase order based on all existing and unchanged material groups for a certain time period. How should you model the material characteristic to achieve this? Choose 1. Option 1, model the material group as a time-independent navigation attribute of the material characteristic. Option 2, model the material group and two selectable user data attributes as a time-dependent display attribute of the material characteristic. Option 3, model the material characteristic and two selectable user data attributes as time-dependent navigation attributes of the material group. Option 4, model the material group and two selectable user data attributes are time-dependent navigation attributes of the material characteristic. Question: what are features of the hierarchy extraction transformation and loading, ETL, concept of SAP BW 7.3 or higher? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, the info package controls the file format of the hierarchy data. Option 2, it uses transformations and data transfer processes, DTPs. Option 3, it provides hierarchy data sources for all types of source systems. Option 4, it uses the application link enabling, ALE, inbox. Option 5, it can use start, and expert routines within transformations. Question: which of the following objects can you use as source objects for a transformation object? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, Open Hub Destination. Option 2, Info Set. Option 3, Virtual Provider. Option 4, Info Source. Question: you want to migrate the 3.x version of an SAP BW data source to a 7.x version with the capability to restore the original version. What should you do during the migration to achieve this? Choose 1. Option 1, export the 3.x data source version with its mapping and transfer structures. Option 2, replace the 3.x SAP BW info source with a 7.x version SAP BW info source. Option 3, delete all entries from the persistent staging area, PSA. Option 4, create a transformation to replace the transfer rules. Question: when loading data from a data source into an info cube, your customer wants to add the person responsible for a cost center to the transaction data. The person responsible is an attribute of a characteristic. Which SAP BW transformation rule types should you use to achieve this? Choose. Option 1, direct assignment. Option 2, read master data. Option 3, constant. Option 4, routine. Question: what can you use to accelerate an SAP BW implementation project? Please choose the correct answer. Choose 1. Option 1, SAP BW statistics. Option 2, SAP by content. Option 3, SAP BW data warehousing workbench. Option 4, SAP BW accelerator, BWA. Question: you want transaction data to be sent from a SAP ERP source system to SAP BW. Which of the following objects must you use? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, data sources. Option 2, multi-providers. Option 3, open hub destinations. Option 4, info packages. Question: your data source provides only after image delta. Which info provider can be loaded directly via this data source? Choose 1. Option 1, info cube. Option 2, virtual provider. Option 3, data store object, DSO. Option 4, info set. Question: which of the following tables contains the attribute values of the Z material characteristic? Choose 1. Option 1, /big/hs material. Option 2, /big/s material. Option 3, /big/js material. Option 4, /big/ps material. Question: what can you do in the remodeling toolbox? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, add a key figure by mapping it to an existing key figure. Option 2, add a characteristic. Option 3, convert an info cube dimension to a line item dimension. Option 4, add attributes to an existing characteristic. Option 5, delete a characteristic in an info cube. Question: in your customer and #39 SAP ERP system, plant 01 for company code 100 is a large refrigerator, and plant 01 for company code 200 is a warehouse. You want plant 01 to be unique for both companies. How do you model the plant characteristic to achieve this? Choose 1. Option 1, set the company code characteristic as a navigation attribute for the plant. Option 2, set the company code characteristic as compounding characteristic for the plant. Option 3, set the company code characteristic as a reference characteristic for the plant. Option 4, set the company code characteristic as time-dependent navigation attribute for the plant. Question: What can you define when you model hierarchies for a characteristic? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 External characteristics. Option 2 Version-dependent hierarchies. Option 3 Time-dependent hierarchy structures. Option 4 The maximum level of hierarchy nodes. Option 5 The table structures of the hierarchies. Question: which of the following connection types supports SAP BW Real-Time Data Acquisition, RDA? Choose one. Option 1 Database Connect. Option 2 Universal Data Connect. Option 3 Web Service. Option 4 Flat File Interface. Question: what is a prerequisite for scheduling data loads from flat files into SAP BW? Choose one. Option 1 A flat file source system is created for each application. Option 2 The flat files are located on the application server. Option 3 Template info objects are assigned to source system fields. Option 4 Fields are chosen to set the selection criteria. Question: what can you use to ensure that the daemon that triggers the real-time data acquisition, RDA, for your sales orders stops at the end of a workday? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Option 1 The daemon monitor transaction, RSERTA. Option 2 The data load monitor. Option 3 Info package settings. Option 4 A process chain. Question: what are prerequisites for adding a new characteristic in a data store object, DSO, using the remodeling toolbox? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 A system handling has been performed. Option 2 The change log table is empty. Option 3 Requests service that load data into the DSO have been stopped. Option 4 The cache memory has been cleared. Question: how can you prevent a process chain from starting immediately after activation? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 Maintain your process chain as a sub-process chain without a start process. Option 2 Set a start process for the process chain using default parameters. Option 3 Set the start process using the meta chain or ALP scheduling option. Option 4 Set the start process to a specific data and time using the direct scheduling and change selections scheduling options. Question: using remodeling toolbox in SAP BW, which of the following info provider objects can you fill using a customer exit? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Option 1 New characteristics. Option 2 New dimensions. Option 3 New navigation attributes. Option 4 New key figures. Question: you want to analyze the sales data for your customers and materials for the last 5 years. The customer analysis must be based on the current customer group. and the material group of the day of sales. How can you model the characteristics and the sales info cube to achieve this? Choose one. Option 1, Customer Group as a time-independent navigation attribute of the customer characteristic. Material Group as a characteristic in your info cube. Option 2, Customer Group as a time-independent navigation attribute of the customer characteristic. Material Group as a time-dependent navigation attribute of the material characteristic. Option 3, Customer Group as a time-dependent navigation attribute of the customer characteristic. Material Group as a characteristic in your info cube. Option 4, Customer Group as a characteristic in your info cube. Material Group as a time-independent navigation attribute of the material characteristic. Question: which of the following actions must you perform to design the dimension of an info cube when you want to accelerate query performance? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, assign 2 characteristics that have an NM relationship to different dimensions. Option 2, use line item dimensions for characteristics with high cardinality. Option 3, assign 2 compounded characteristics to different dimensions. Option 4, distribute the characteristics equally over all dimensions. Option 5, place the most selective characteristics first in the dimension. Question: which of the following info providers do you use to model the operational data store layer in SAP Book? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, transient providers. Option 2, direct access data store objects. Option 3, hybrid providers. Option 4, write optimized data store objects. Question: which of the following SAP BW info providers are used in the reporting layers of a layered scalable architecture, LSA? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, info source. Option 2, data source. Option 3, data store object, DSO. Option 4, multi-provider. Question: what are performance advantages when using an info cube instead of a data store object? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, surrogate ID, SID, keys and dim_ID keys are generated automatically. Option 2, surrogate IDs, SIDs, replace master data values in dimension tables. Option 3, navigational attributes can be used. Option 4, reporting access to granular data using standard dimensions is faster. Question: which transaction must you use to change the level of reporting for statistics data? Choose one. Option 1, maintenance of statistics properties, RSStat. Option 2, ABAP dictionary maintenance, CEL. Option 3, query monitor, RSRT. Option 4, SAP BW workload statistics, ST03. Question: which of the following SAP BW objects can you use to build aggregates? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1, key figure values. Option 2, characteristics. Option 3, surrogate IDs, SIDs. Option 4, hierarchy levels. Question: what can you do before a transaction data load to improve the performance of the data load? Choose 1. Option 1: roll up the aggregates. Option 2: load master data. Option 3: update database statistics. Option 4: build additional indexes on the data targets. Question: what are the properties of a standard info cube? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: it can combine several info providers. Option 2: it has a minimum of 4 dimension tables. Option 3: it is a write-optimized provider. Option 4: it can contain a maximum of 233 key figures. Question: which of the following activities can you perform with the metadata repository? Choose 1. Option 1: search for installed SAP by content objects. Option 2: activate installed SAP by content objects. Option 3: install SAP by content objects. Option 4: customize SAP by content objects. Question: you want to get the following information. Duration of data loads. Report runtimes. Details about how SAP BW info providers, info objects, info sources, source systems, and aggregates are used. What can you use to get this information? Choose 1. Option 1: Query Monitor. Option 2: SAP BW Administration Cockpit. Option 3: Database Statistics. Option 4: Workload Monitor. Question: your customer wants to analyze sales document transactional data at a calendar day level. Which info provider does SAP recommend that they use to load this type of data? Choose 1. Option 1: Info Cube. Option 2: Data Store Object. Option 3: Virtual Provider. Option 4: Multi-Provider. Question: you created a new source system in SAP BW to load data via SAP Data Services. What is the correct sequence of tasks you must perform to load this data into SAP BW? Choose 1. Option 1: Create a data source in SAP BW. 2. Create an info package. 3. Execute the SAP BW info package. 4. Create a data services job in SAP Data Services. Option 2: 1. Create an info package. 2. Execute the SAP BW info package. 3. Create a data source in SAP BW. 4. Create a data services job in SAP Data Services. Option 3: 1. Create an info package. 2. Create a data source in SAP BW. 3. Create a data services job in SAP Data Services. 4. Execute the SAP BW info package. Option 4: 1. Create a data source in SAP BW. 2. Create an info package. 3. Create a data services job in SAP Data Services. 4. Execute the SAP BW info package. Question: what are benefits of the Enterprise Data Warehouse, EDW, layers? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: you can extract data once and deploy it to several data marts. Option 2: you can load Delta data without overwriting older versions. Option 3: you can schedule data loads via process chains without using info packages. Option 4: you can publish data on the SAP Enterprise portal without creating queries. Question: what must you create to use Data Transfer Process, DTP, error handling? Please choose the correct answer. Choose 1. Option 1 a DTP with the transfer method persistent staging area, PSA. Option 2 a DTP with extraction mode full. Option 3 a DTP with extraction mode initial. Option 4 a process chain using the DTP. Question: what happens when you compress the data of an info cube? Choose 1. Option 1 the granularity for a characteristic is reduced. Option 2 the star schema is redefined. Option 3 the data load request identifier, ID, is set to 0. Option 4 standard dimensions are switched to line item dimensions. Question: which of the following initial tasks should you perform when designing an SAP BW data model? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 evaluate the format of data to be loaded. Option 2 analyze relationships between the characteristics and their attributes. Option 3 evaluate the volume of data to be loaded. Option 4 evaluate the number and types of users. Question: which of the following settings can you make for error handling in the data transfer process? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 process the correct records and allow reporting on them. Option 2 process the correct records and do not allow reporting on them. Option 3 write invalid records into the target info provider. Option 4 get all new data in source request by request. Question: your customer wants to store material data, info object oMaterial, and material proposed data, info object ZMAT_prop. Both info objects should be based on the same material master data. Choose 1. Option 1 as a navigation attribute of oMaterial. Option 2 as a referencing characteristic to oMaterial. Option 3 as a display attribute of oMaterial. Option 4 as a compounding characteristic for oMaterial. Question: your customer wants to model their SAP BW system according to best practices. You propose using a layered scalable architecture, LSA. Which of the following steps must you perform? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 model disjunct transaction and master data domains for application-specific reporting. Option 2 implement the entire corporate information factory enterprise data warehouse architecture. Option 3 define specific scenarios for data logistics shaped by the customer environment. Option 4 determine which LSA layers are relevant based on the customer and #39s requirements and objectives. Question: what can you define in a currency translation type in SAP BW? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 exchange rate type. Option 2 transformation rule type. Option 3 target currency. Option 4 currency table. Question: which of the following info providers do you use to model the operational data store layer in SAP BW? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1 transient providers. Option 2 direct access data store objects. Option 3 write optimized data store objects. Option 4 hybrid providers. Question: for which of the following reports must you use non-cumulative key figures? Choose one. Option 1: Purchasing open order analysis on a daily basis. Option 2: Revenues transaction analysis on a daily basis. Option 3: Cost of sales analysis on a daily basis. Option 4: Stock level analysis on a daily basis. Question: in a customer hierarchy, customers are organized in regions and regions are assigned to different regional managers. One region has to be assigned to 2 regional managers. How do you model the hierarchy? Choose one. Option 1: Use a link node. Option 2: Use a temporal hierarchy join. Option 3: Use 2 different hierarchy versions. Option 4: Use a duplicate node. Question: what does SAP recommend you do to improve the overall reporting performance of a standard info cube in SAP BW 7.4? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: Create aggregates. Option 2: Include the info cube into a semantically partitioned object, SPO. Option 3: Create one or more line item dimensions. Option 4: Split the standard info cube data into several info cubes contained in a multi-provider. Option 5: Execute a preload OLAP cache process in a process chain. Question: which SAP BW info providers can serve as data targets? There are 2 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: Multi-provider. Option 2: Standard data store object. Option 3: Info cube. Option 4: Info set. Question: which of the following layers are part of an architected data mart layer? There are 3 correct answers to this question. Choose. Option 1: Data propagation. Option 2: Virtualization. Option 3: Quality and harmonization. Option 4: Reporting. Option 5: Business transformation. Question: which info provider type do you typically use for the virtualization layer in an enterprise data warehouse architecture? Choose one. Option 1: Hybrid provider. Option 2: Multi-provider. Option 3: Composite provider. Option 4: Transient provider.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.